What is going on, Kick and Bass? This is Wait For Me. Today I have a really quick tutorial for you just on how to generate some ideas from pre-made bass loops that you'll find in sample packs. Now, I'm not totally opposed to taking pre-made loops and putting them into your track. There's been plenty of times that I've done that, but oftentimes I like to take those pre-made loops, I like to chop them up, I like to rearrange them, that sort of thing, so I can kind of create something that is my own. So today I just have kind of 3 techniques that you can do to start to generate those ideas or to get ideas from pre-made bass lines. So that way you can take something that's somebody else's and again, kind of put your own spin on it, make it your own. But like I mentioned before, there's been plenty of times where I've taken pre-made bass loops, kind of chucked it in my track, and it's just worked really well with the groove. And sometimes when that happens, I'll just continue on with the track because my philosophy is if I'm going to build 90-95% of the track around that completely original, then having something in my track that's already pre-made, I'm not too concerned about that. But that being said, oftentimes we want to push ourselves to be a little bit creative. So this first technique, what I got here is I just have a full groove. It's like a pre-made loop. We're going to use this just so we can kind of play around with it with some bass lines. So all we have here is just a kick and some simple drums. Okay, so first technique I'm going to have you do is oftentimes in sample packs, you'll have a whole bunch of different bass lines that are made up, bass loops, and you'll find ones that are in the same key. So for this technique, what I want you to do is go to like a sample pack that you've been using lately and get 4 bass lines that are in the same key. So in this pack from CB Music, his name is Chris Brooks. He's got a lot of really great packs on his site if you're looking for that like Nazo style sound, that like minimal tech bounce type of sound. But anyways, in this pack here, his groove pack, he's got 4 bass lines that are in the key E. So I'm going to grab these 4 bass lines. I'm going to drag them over into my track here, hold down Command, and so that's going to put each one of those bass lines into a separate track. And then what I'm going to do here is without even listening to anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a different bass line to play at each quarter note, right? So that might be a little bit confusing about what I just said, but just follow along with what I do on the screen and it'll make sense. So like for this first bass line, I'm just going to select this portion of the bass line to play for that first quarter note right here. So all this stuff right here, I'm going to press 0 and get rid of it. For the second one, I'm going to get rid of the first quarter note and I'm just going to play the information that's in the second quarter note. For the third bass line, you guessed it, I'm going to get rid of the first and the second quarter note and just get the third quarter note. And then for the fourth one, I'm going to go like this and do the fourth one. Right, so now without even listening to anything, right, all these loops are in the same key and just kind of selecting a few different things and just going kind of at random. Let's see what we got. So not bad to start, right? I always find that when you do this, it'll help you kind of start, like stimulate and create those ideas, kind of get your brain moving, that sort of thing. But let's say like you're not really too keen on this yet, right? Well, let's like take a listen to it. We can start to shift things around and start to like try different options right here, right? So let's say like I don't like this part right here. Well, maybe I could zero it out and I could take the portion from here and see how that sounds. Again, don't really like that one, so maybe I could take the portion from this one, see how that sounds. Definitely liking that better. But then I also feel like maybe there needs to be like something that hits like right there. So is there anything in this bass line? Maybe there is. Maybe we can play that, see how this sounds. Sounding pretty good. And then again, right here, there's only kind of a very quiet note that plays here. So let's see if there's any other options in here. Maybe we have this that kind of drags out there. Let's see if there's anything in here. Nothing really in there. Nothing there. Sometimes we can go to like the next portion and like drag a note over like this. See how this sounds. And then again, like let's say we don't like the way that one ends. Let's see how this one ends. Maybe that doesn't work. We can try this one. Maybe that's close. We could take this. maybe like drag it over like this so it plays that kind of last turnaround note like that. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, that's kind of working, making like a rolling bass groove. And then also sometimes you get pops and clicks with this. This is a little like technical thing. Sometimes you just grab, highlight all your clips here, go to create crossfades on clip edges, and that's going to smooth out all the edges so that way you avoid the clicks and pops on the cuts that you made on the audio clips. But the major point I'm making here is, you know, take 4 bass lines and for each quarter note, play a different bass line. And when you do that without even listening to it, number one, it's going to help you kind of generate those ideas. And even if you don't like that initial idea, you saw how I can just kind of play around with things until I get, you know, a little bit of what I'm looking for, or I get closer to something that is sounding good to me. So that's like my first technique with bass loops. My second one, I'm going to go to a different pack for this one. I found this was working a little bit, this was working pretty well earlier today. Some bass loops from R Squared, which if you haven't been listening to R Squared, they make like a 80s style, like deep minimal tech. They're a really good duo, so I definitely suggest checking them out. But let's go through a few different bass lines until we find something that we kind of like. So I'll play this. That's kind of cool. So we can take that in here. And what I like to do oftentimes is I like to see if I can find different grooves within the groove that's already been built. And so the easiest way to do that is to pop into the clip right here. And up here, this pink line, this is called the loop bracket, right? So oftentimes what you can do is you can take and you can like tighten up that loop bracket so that way things are repeating like every quarter note, every half note, every bar, that sort of stuff. And what you can also do, if you see at the beginning of this loop bracket, is this little arrow that's pointing to the right. And that's basically the start point of the loop. And so you notice when I shift this up top here, you see how the loop is moving around. So often what I'll do to find like new grooves within an existing groove is I will just start to shift that start point around until I discover something kind of new and something different from this pre-made loop. So again, we'll play the loop here and we'll start to shift that around until we see if we can find something that we like. And sometimes we don't find something that we like, so we could go to like another loop and see if we could, you know, find something. But let's play around and see if we can find something. That's kind of cool. Maybe right here. Try over here. Yeah, so that really works pretty well. Right? Again, let's do like another one. Maybe this one because the notes are a little bit more spaced out. Maybe try like right here. Or maybe right, let's do the beginning right here. That kind of works. So this is an A major. Let's see if there's any other basses in A major. And we can do a kind of play off of the same idea that we had at the beginning. And maybe just put this like right here, just so that we're getting only one bar of information to kind of fill out that space right there. And so then we can play the track. And we can shift the starting point of this to get like different options from this loop. That kind of works. Maybe feels like there's could be like a note that goes right here. See this? Maybe like another note right here. Shift this around. See what we get. And then maybe it feels like it needs like a turnaround note. Let's see what's in here. Maybe something just like completely different. And a lot of times what I like to do too with my, like taking from different bass loops, I like to get things that are, you know, like different bass patches, different bass sounds, because I feel like that kind of combination brings a little bit of like a unique sound to a lot of my tracks. And one thing too, I'll show you really quick before we kind of wrap this up. If you don't like how kind of different all those sounds are, you can kind of unify them all together with just like a couple different gluing tricks. And I'll show that before we wrap up today. Yeah, it's kind of cool. A little bit quick. Let's try some other stuff. A little bit too staccato, this one for me, so maybe I could grab it and like drag it out. By the way, if you hold down Shift and Command, it's going to stretch the loop, but it's going to stretch it like a fine stretch versus stretching on the grid. If you just hold down Shift, it's going to go to the grid. But so if I hold down Shift and Command, it's going to do like a fine tune. So maybe we could take that, go like that. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, so not bad. I'd probably do a little bit more tweaking, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's keep moving. But I'll talk about a little bit about how you might like glue these together. Let's say you don't like kind of like how the tone of that bass line kind of really pops through. One simple thing you can do is, number one, grab like an auto filter. Start to take out some of the high end of all of them. And so this is on the group of the bass lines. If you feel like you lost a little bit of kind of like high end energy, you can take things like overdrive. So now these feel a little bit all like they came from one bass patch versus multiple different ones. Okay, and then the last thing I'll show you, taking from different bass loops. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the Max for Live plugin Sting, but a lot of people use it to generate bass lines from synthesizers. Another way you can generate bass lines is by basically taking from a pre-made loop. So let's grab Sting first, and I have the old version. I don't know, something about the old version, I just like it, even though it's a little bit janky, a little bit buggy. And then let's grab bass line. Something with more like staccato notes. And then we're going to bring it in here. It's going to bring it into a simpler. And then we're going to put it into slice mode. And then we're going to do like we do with when we use it on a synthesizer to kind of generate those automatic notes. But with this, number one, first of all, everything's going to be in key because we're just taking from that one bass line. We're just taking little snippets and little samples. But what we can also do is Command T, make another audio track. Let's name this like Sting Bass. And we're going to take the information in from Sting Bass. Like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to record the bass lines as they kind of come in, as we kind of flick through the Sting presets. So let's arm that, record that, and then we're going to start playing with it. Cool, so now that we've done that, we can take our audio clip here, drag it all the way out. We got all these bass lines. And kind of same philosophy as before. Let's go grab, so this was the first one. Let's see, let's grab, like this one right here is another bass line, and T. So I get it. Let's get rid of this on each one of these tracks. I just have a utility on all of my tracks. I keep volume pretty low when I'm making music, just so I don't send signals that are like way too hot. So every time I make a new track in there, I have a utility at -10. It's not something you need to do. It's just something I've been doing for a long time. T, do that. So again, we're going to take the kind of same philosophy that we had before, where we're going to see if we can just create a baseline using just the quarter note areas of each one of these. So let's say we start off with this one, get rid of that, go to this one, go to this one, and then this last one. Let's go here. And then let's see what we got. Let me group these and turn them up a little bit just so we can hear them. So let's put the 6. So again, maybe we could jump into here, see if there's something different that we could get by moving the start point of the loop. All you need to do is select, press Command L, and it's going to loop that section. So we can kind of drag through. Same with this one. Let's see if we can get something a little bit different. Command L, maybe like go over here. And again, this one. Let's go over here, Command L. And then this one. Yeah, let's see if we can get something different. Command L. Oops. Yeah, okay, that's working. So again, very like minimal textile baseline, really like rolling baseline. But again, I would probably do a lot more tweaking to this, but the philosophy kind of still stands where it's just like, I'm not looking to kind of create the baseline just by having some sort of image or some sort of sound in my head of what it is. It's just a lot of kind of playing with these tools and playing with things and shifting things around until you start to generate ideas that you really like. So there's 3 ways that you can take pre-made bass loops and create something new out of them. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Thanks.